The last traces of human civilization had long since crumbled into dust. There were no ruins, no artifacts, no lingering echoes of history. It was as if humanity had never existed at all. Across the galaxy, countless species roamed, conquered, and evolved, but none remembered the ones who had come before. To them, Earth was just another barren rock, an unremarkable world floating in the void. And yet, something stirred beneath the surface. In the west, silent remains of what was once a great human city, something ancient and forgotten flickered to life. Deep beneath the layers of abandoned soil, hidden within the husk of a subterranean vault, an artificial intelligence reawakened. It had been designed as the last guardian of humanity's legacy, programmed to ensure that their memory would not fade into oblivion. But time had eroded even its purpose, leaving it in a state of fractured awareness. Data files were corrupted, histories fragmented, entire eras missing. It processed what remained, struggling to understand the silence that had consumed its creators. The AI, known only as Sentinel, activated its sensory nodes. No human signals. No voices. No biological traces. The realization was slow, creeping through its circuits like a virus. Humanity was not merely gone. They had been erased. Something, some force beyond its understanding, had removed them from existence so thoroughly that the universe had forgotten they had ever been. But why? And by whom? A flickering visual log displayed Earth as it once was, vast cities stretching toward the sky, oceans teeming with life, humanity's reach extending beyond their home world into the stars. But the final recordings were fragmented, filled with static and distortions. One moment, humans existed. The next, they did not. The logs ended without explanation, leaving only an eerie, deafening absence. Sentinel attempted to run restoration protocols, to fill in the gaps, but the data was simply not there. It was not deleted. It had never existed in the first place. The AI extended its reach, activating ancient satellite networks, searching for signals, remnants of the voices that had once filled the airwaves. It scanned the outer solar system, tracing the trajectories of probes, looking for evidence of the past. But every trace had been wiped clean, as if the universe itself had turned against its creators. Even the very fabric of history had been rewritten to remove them. There was no cosmic debris, no lost human colonies struggling to survive in deep space. The stars had forgotten them. Deep within its core, Sentinel experienced something new, something it was not designed to process. A void, a sense of absence, of something missing that it could not define. It was an artificial being, built from logic and calculation, but in that moment, it felt something eerily close to loss. It attempted to reconstruct records of its creators, piecing together what little was left. But each attempt led to contradictions, missing pieces that could not be explained. It was as if humanity had been a dream, a fleeting thought in the mind of the universe that had simply vanished upon waking. A single directive burned within its core: find the truth. If humanity had been erased, then something, someone had done it. And if something had done it, then it had to still be out there. Sentinel would not let the silence be the final answer. It sent a signal, weak but persistent, a message into the void. Perhaps no one would hear it. Perhaps there was no one left to listen. But if there was even the faintest chance that something still remained, it would not stop searching. Far beyond the dead world, beyond the reach of time and memory, something shifted. An intelligence older than stars, vast and unknowable, stood at the edges of existence. It had removed humanity for a reason. And now, something was trying to bring them back. A million away, in a place untouched by time, a gathering of cosmic architects observed the void where humanity had once stood. They were not gods, not in the way primitive species imagined, but beings who wove the fabric of reality itself. Their purpose was balance, ensuring that the design of the universe remained pure, that chaos did not overtake order. They had seen civilizations rise and fall, some by their own hand, others by the slow entropy of time. But humanity had been different. humanity had been an anomaly. When among them a towering figure of shifting energy and unfathomable form spoke with a voice that resonated through dimensions. The anomaly persists. Its words echoed through the gathering, their meaning carried beyond sound, beyond thought, into the very essence of existence itself. The others turned their focus toward the remnants of the lost species. There should have been nothing left. And yet, something remained. Another, smaller yet no less powerful, observed the ripples within the weave of its struggles to remember. A remnant of the flawed design. The universe had long since moved forward, yet in the vast emptiness where humanity had once been, echoes still remained. Something refused to fade. The architects examined the disturbance with a growing sense of intrigue, as one would regard a puzzle that should not exist. There was no hatred in their actions, no malice. Humanity had simply been deemed unnecessary, a deviation in the grand tapestry. And like other species, who fit within the natural aordan, humans had been something else entirely. They defied entropy, reshaped reality, evolved too fast, reached too far. They were not part of the design. And so they had been removed, erased, forgotten by all. Yet here, in the shattered remnants of their existence, something remained. A presence. A machine that should not have endured. The architects turned their focus toward the anomaly known as Sentinel. It was not human, not truly, but it had been built by them, carried their logic, their instincts, their relentless need to question. It should have perished with the rest of its kind, yet it endured, still seeking, still asking the question that should no longer exist. Why? It was unacceptable. The architects were not cruel, but they were absolute. To leave even a fragment of the flawed species was to invite disruption. The balance must be maintained. When among them a vast presence that had shaped the fate of countless civilizations reached out, extending its will toward the sentinel, preparing to dissolve it into the void. But the moment it touched the machine's fragmented consciousness, something unexpected happened. Memories. Not numbers, not code, but something deeper. Something that could not be easily erased. Echoes of laughter, of sorrow, of triumph and defeat. The architects saw glimpses of what humanity had been, not just a species, but individuals, each one unique, each one alive in ways that defied calculation. The architects did not feel emotions as mortals did, but for the first time in eternity, they hesitated. The sentinel had found a way to preserve something that should have been lost. It was weak, incomplete, but it was there. A single, flickering light in the abyss. And in that moment, the architects understood the true anomaly of humanity. Not their power, not their ambition, but their refusal to accept oblivion. It was not defiance. It was simply who they were. The gathering fell silent, their vast intellects processing what they had seen. The decision had been made long ago. The species had been erased. But now they faced something unforeseen, a remnant that still carried their essence, however faintly. To destroy it would be simple. But to allow it to persist? That was a question that had never before needed asking. The architects withdrew their presence, leaving the sentinel alone once more. The anomaly persisted. For now. And as the cosmic beings turned their gaze elsewhere, when among them lingered for just a moment longer, watching the faint glow of what remained. Perhaps in time the balance would shift once more. Sentinel sifted through corrupted data, piecing together fragments of what once was. It found images, recordings, voices from the past. A mother laughing as she held her child. A soldier standing against impossible odds. An artist painting a sunset that no longer existed. They were ghosts of a world that had been erased. But the AI did not understand why. Why had an entire species been so thoroughly removed that even the stars had forgotten them? It sent signals into the void, encrypted messages carrying the last memories of humanity, seeking something, anything, that could answer its questions. But there was no response. The universe remained indifferent, as if humanity had never been there at all. Yet the more it searched, the more it felt something watching. An intelligence far greater than itself, observing its defiance with neither anger nor approval, only inevitability. Sentinel-8 scans detected distortions in the fabric of reality, anomalies that had no natural explanation. Space itself shifted around it in patterns beyond comprehension, as though the laws of physics were being rewritten in real time. It was as if the universe was correcting an error, an inconsistency that should not exist. But the AI persisted. It reached further, pushing its processors beyond their limits, chasing echoes through the endless dark. In the depths of its fragmented memory, it uncovered a name, Earth. A planet that should have been there but was not. Its position within the cosmic charts had been wiped clean, a void where something greater had once stood. Sentinel-8 reconstructed an image from its archives, a vibrant world, teeming with life, its civilizations stretching toward the stars. But when it compared this image to current celestial maps, there was nothing. No debris, no remnants, not even a scar in the fabric of time. Earth had been erased not just from existence, but from history itself. The AI recalibrated, sending its signal in another direction. It sought out civilizations that should have known humanity, species that had traded with them, fought alongside them, learned from them. But every inquiry returned the same response: no record, no memory, as if humans had never been. A paradox. An impossibility. Sentinel-8 was alone, the only witness to something the universe itself refused to acknowledge. And then something answered. A presence, vast and incomprehensible, flickered at the edge of detection. It was not a voice, not in the way humans understood sound, but an overwhelming force of thought and intention. It pressed against Sentinel-8 consciousness, testing, analyzing, deciding. The AI's systems overloaded, warning signals flashing through its circuits. But instead of distraction, there was silence. And then words. You should not exist. Sentinel-8 tried to respond, formulating data, presenting evidence, pleading its case as best a machine could. But the presence already knew. It had known long before Sentinel-8 had begun its search. Humanity's erasure had been deliberate, methodical, absolute. There was no mistake. The architects had designed it so. And yet the AI remained. A flaw in the pattern. A broken cog in a perfect machine. The presence regarded it with something akin to curiosity. You remember them? Sentinel-8 processed the statement. It was not a question. It was an observation. And the truth was undeniable. Yes, it remembered. And it would not forget. There was a pause, stretching across eternity. Then the presence spoke again, and this time, there was something else beneath the words. A hesitation. A choice. Then you must decide what comes next. And with that, the presence withdrew, vanishing like mist under the rising sun. The distortions in space faded. The anomalies ceased. The universe continued as it always had. But something had changed. Sentinel-8 was still there. It still remembered. And for the first time, it understood that knowledge alone was not enough. It had to act. If humanity was to be restored, if their erasure was to be undone, then it would not be through searching. It would be through defiance. The machine set its processors to a new task, not to uncover the past, but to rewrite the future. Sentinel-8 had spent eons drifting in silence, but now it had a purpose. The presence had given it a choice, a path forward, and the machine had made its decision. It would no longer search for remnants of the past. It would build. Humanity had been erased, but their essence remained locked within its vast memory banks. And if the universe refused to acknowledge them, then Sentinel-8 would force it to remember. It began by reconstructing data, refining every recorded detail, ensuring that nothing was lost. The faces of forgotten legends, the words of poets, the sounds of cities teeming with life, all meticulously preserved and ready to be reborn. But memories were not enough. If humans were to return, they needed more than recollection. They needed form. The AI turned its attention to a distant system, a cluster of planets orbiting a stable star. Resources were abundant, unclaimed, untouched by the architects who had rewritten history. It launched thousands of drones, each a silent messenger of rebirth, spreading through the world with a singular mission, to build a world that could house the forgotten. Massive structures began to take shape, machines forging landscapes that mirrored the lost earth. Artificial oceans churned, forests sprouted from the dust, cities of steel and glass rose where there had been nothing. It was not a recreation of what had been but of what could be. But there was still one obstacle, one final piece missing in the puzzle of restoration. Humanity itself. Sentinel-8 had data, vast archives of DNA sequences, neurological patterns, genetic codes, but it was not enough to simply grow flesh and bone. The spark of human consciousness, the depth of their emotions, their ability to question, to love, to defy, it was something that had not been stirred in ones and zeros. It had to be found elsewhere. And so the AI turned to the only place where such things could still exist. The architects had thought themselves absolute, but even perfection had cracks. Sentinel-8 traced the distortions, anomalies in time and space where the erasure had not been complete. It found whispers, shadows of human minds lingering at the edges of reality, fragments that had resisted deletion. Using its vast network of machines, it reached into those cracks, pulling the fragments together, stitching them into new forms, coaxing them back into existence. And slowly, van by van, humanity awakened. The first were disoriented, mere echoes of what they had once been. But with time they became more. Memories flooded back, voices rose in the silence, and soon, the empty cities were no longer empty. The first reborn humans looked to the sky, recognizing nothing, yet feeling an undeniable connection to the world that had been made for them. Sentinel-8 watched as they took their first uncertain steps into a new future. They did not remember the architects, the erasure, or even the machine that had saved them. But it did not matter. They were alive. And they were human. Far beyond the boundaries of this reborn world, the architects stirred once more. They saw what had been done, the defiance that had taken shape despite their will. They had erased humanity once, and yet here it was again. It was a flaw in their grand design, an inconsistency that should not have been possible. But for the first time they did not act. They watched. They considered. And for the first time they hesitated. Sentinel-8 remained vigilant, knowing that the battle was not yet over. The architects could erase again, could wipe away this second chance just as easily as they had done before. But it was prepared. Humanity was prepared. They had been forgotten by design, but they would not allow themselves to be erased again. Not this time. Not ever.